Well, I don't know if I should call it a Tuesday Night War, but I mean, what a coincidence that both NXT, well, we do know NXT runs Tuesday, and of course, AEW just recently decided to make this week their show on a Tuesday. Hmm. Should I call it a Tuesday Night War or just leave it plain simple? I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below and tell me. As you know, NXT has made their debut in CW a week ago, but however, we still got some things on the aftermath of that, but also new battle lines are being drawn, but also we do have some championship matches that are taking place. We have the NXT tag team titles, we have of course the North American title, and of course we got plenty other matches taking place as well. So we're going to see what happens. Now as for AEW Dynamite title Tuesday, we are going to see the TBS title defended. We even of course have what other matches are there as well, but a number one contendership for the AEW women's title at Wrestle Dream. So a lot of battle lines have been drawn from both sides. So how exciting we're going to see what's going to happen moving forward from here on out. But we also will cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone. Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews and other wrestling promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, then we will put it on the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news update to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be gaining a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introduction steps set aside, so it's time to go full speed ahead. So let's begin, of course, with NXT. NXT. We're now week 2 of since their debut on the CW network, and they were in St. Louis, Missouri, if anybody's asking. It opened up, of course, with our brand new crown, two-time NXT champion, Trick Williams, of course, doing his little promo and this and that. But of course, like any other time when a champion has been crowned, we get a new challenger, and the person who speak up, it's someone who once already made a play for this belt, but he hasn't had the chance to do that yet, and that is, of course, Wes Lee. So Wes Lee is treating his victory during that street fight that he had last week with Zachary Wentz as a way of saying that now this would solidify me to a shot of the NXT title. But of course, that didn't happen. But however, the Wesley's his little trying to get the spotlight was overshadowed by the arrival of the newly crowned international champion Jey Uso. I don't think anybody, but it seems like Trick and Jay got along real great. It's great to see that. So I'm surprised. So we will see what happens. We know that Wesley would stop at nothing now to get a shot of the NXT title. So we will see what happens from here on out. Now, our next match, as you know, Kelani Jordan has always been stepping up her game in order to, of course, prove herself how prestige the NXT Women's North American title. But Fatal Influence decided to come up with this ridiculous idea saying that Kelani Jordan has been ducking them. Well, like to say, and Booker T, it's a load of BS. She never ducked anybody. She's like, I'm right here. But luckily, Kelani Jordan brought a little backup. Of course, the WWE Women's Champion. We're talking about the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. I think that Jay-Z Jane, Fallon Henley, and of course, Jasmine Nix underestimated them. But however, of course, seeing all three of them, Kelani, Jade, and Bianca was a pretty good match. Not to mention the great teamwork with them. But Kelani Jordan showed why she's right now. I'm not saying she's at the top of the mountain, but she's the one who's showing that she deserves to be champion, and she's putting every 100%, 110% in what she's delivering. And she did that by applying the leg split moonsault on, who did she put it on? On Jasmine Nix, and just like that, it was over. So that kind of led out. But we did see, of course, Kelani, along with Jade and Bianca, thanking them for their help. But of course, they had a run-in with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. So, of course, Jay knows that they've been talking about them recently. And she said, how about you guys make your way to SmackDown and we'll put the tag belts on the line. So we could see that down the line. So we'll see it. Now, Axiom, as you know, he has to put up with Nathan Frazier with his shenanigans about him being a little hothead. And he was doing that right in front of Randy Orton. Now, however, he didn't want Frazier did not want to disrespect him. But Randy was, look, I used to be a hothead myself. I know what it's like. But there's nothing wrong with being a hothead. And Frazier's like, see, there's nothing wrong with it. So it's like, Axiom was like, I don't know about this. So he's like the guy who's like saying, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Now, we did see a little interview with Julia. Now, as you know, Julia did not win the title, all thanks to the mean girl, Cora Jade. But however, she received a surprise visit from an old friend. We didn't know what was that, but we'll get to that. Now, of course, Roxanne Perez comes out, all happy smiles about, saying that it was never going to happen. Julia was not going to beat her and all that. And of course, because she had Cora Jade had her back. So it seems that they reignited and they want to prove now that they are the ones run NXT. But however, Julia wasn't going to back down no matter what. Until the shift changes, Stephanie Fakir showed up. This put very interesting motives. Now Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez realize they are done for, knowing that this could be a shift change. But sooner or later, something has to happen for the NXT Women's title somewhere down the line. Now, of course, no Quarter Catch Crew were watching this, especially Ren Sinclair, so there's a little game plan going on. Now, Lexis King, who was just minding his own business, kind of asked some little advice with Charlie Dempsey about, even though he knows that Charlie Dempsey is the type of person who doesn't cross lines. So he's asking him, how can I deal with Ora Mensah, what he did last time? So he's kind of giving him advice. I don't know what kind of advice, but I hope Lexis King get that advice that he needs. Now, our next match is another title match. We have the NXT North American title. Now, this is Tony D'Angelo's last chance. Now, the last couple of weeks, since losing to Obafemi the first time, it kind of put him in that state, like, I'm not sure if I could beat Obafemi. But Andrea Rizzo, who's, to me, the voice of reason, telling her, so what if you lost? So she's trying to get him back. But the problem is this. The old saying goes, lightning doesn't strike twice. Now, we have seen that lightning does strike twice, either true or not. But how would Tony D'Angelo? So he was determined to not lose this match no matter what, even if Obafemi applied whatever he can throw at him. And he was able to do so when, of course, Obafemi was ready to do the power bomb on him, and then it just went into a sunset flip, and boom, just like that, he pinned him. Finally, the NXT champion, the NXT North American champion. But I gotta ask, does that make him a North American a Grand Triple Crown champion? Give me a minute. Just be sure, because Wesley talked about that. Let's see. No, he's not a triple. Well, he's a Heritage Cup, so he's still got the NXT title left. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We sure he'll get that title soon enough. That will make him a quadruple crown champion. But yeah. So anyway, that's what goes on from there. Now, of course, tensions have been rising with Lola Vice and Jada Parker recently. So Ava Reigns decided that she'll give her a match against Jada Parker, but of course she had a run-in with Nikita Lyons, who we haven't seen for quite some time. But it was told that they will meet each other somewhere down, possibly next week, I believe. But yes. Now, our next match is the NXT Tag Team titles. We have the more annoyance of Grayson Waller, who's been a pain in the butt with NXT since his time there, and Theory taking on Axiom and Frazier. Now, we have seen, of course, there were moments we did see from Waller and Theory miscommunicating on some cues, but as always, Axiom and Frazier were able to retain the belts when it comes to, of course, doing the combination of the Spanish Fly, then the Phoenix Splash, and just like that, they just won by pinning Waller, and it was over, and retained the belts. Now, we did see an interview with Rich Holland. As you know, he is not done with Chase U, but seems Riley Osborne is not done either, so he still is out to finish the job once and for all. So we'll see what happens. Now, we did see Sexy Red trying to do her performance until she was interrupted by Ethan Page. Now, it's no secret that Ethan Page is determined to, of course, regain the NXT title, but we'll see what happens. But he was interrupted by the arrival of Siobhan Evans. I thought it was very interesting. But however, Siobhan Evans has another task at hand, and that is, of course, Randy Orton. It's no secret how this was going to be. But it was a fantastic match. But people noticed something. Now, if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, there was that infamous spot where Evans Bourne, or as many of you remember him and know him now as Matt Sydal, he actually did the shooting star press, and Randy Orton did the RKO. Well, we saw something similar to that again. So I thought it was pretty interesting. But as always, Randy, being who he is, he kind of puts that in a perspective, put him out with the RKO, and just like that, it was over. Now, however, we did see at the end of the show, Ava was with Wesley and Ethan Page. So basically, she can see the point of view from both sides. So they decided that next week, there's going to be a number one contender for the NXT title at Halloween Havoc. So she announced Wesley, Ethan Page, and Javon Evans. Now, I'm sure Javon Evans is not in the discussion that they don't believe he earned, but he earned it really well because he has been very impressive since he arrived in NXT. So we'll see what happens from here on out. But for now, we are done with NXT, so let's move with our next review, and that is AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. Okay, AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday. Now, majority of this entire show was more about interviews, segments, and all that, just to let you guys know, so it wouldn't be boring. So that way I can give you guys much of the details, what's been happening throughout the entirety of this event. Now, of course, Jon Moxley, as you know, put out a video promo talking about Bryan Danielson, that the stakes are too high. So it seems like his determination in this particular storyline, that winning the AEW World title means everything, because right now something is about to happen. Now, we do know that, of course, he did stated that he didn't want this to happen like this, but Excalibur did stated that someone is pulling the strings. We just don't know who. So basically, the priority is the AEW World title. So he feels he has to win it in every way possible. But of course, Bryan Danielson wasn't going to back down. So he said that he'll bring out the person that he is. So we will see what happens at Wrestle Dream in a couple of days. Now, Darby Allin, as you know, came out into the ring to do a promo, but he called out the one person he truly never beaten in a pinfall, and that is, of course, what's his name? Brody King. Now, of course, they exchanged a few words and all that, and then all things broke loose. Of course, we know that Brody King is capable of choking out Darby, but he brought a rock and hurting his hand and busted him open. So things got a little heated. So we will see what happens at Wrestle Dream. Now, we do see an interview. Now, if you guys remember what happened, there was a moment where Lance Archer was doing his own thing, just wreaking havoc. Don Callis asked him a question, of course, not interrupting what he was doing, telling him, is he still under Jake the Snake Roberts' tutelage? So he said yes. And that's when we jump into this interview with Renee Paquette. Of course, Archer and Jake Roberts were right there talking, and apparently there was an exchange. So basically, Lance Archer is now in the part of the Don Callis family, but the real question is, who did he get? That is the question we don't know, but he did say that's a surprise. Now, our next match, we have two of the best high flyers we've ever seen. Hologram and, of course, Commander. Now, remember, Hologram is sternly undefeated, but he has never made his debut in Dynamite. So I thought it was a pretty good match. Of course, there was going to be a lot of high spots, especially from both sides. But it was in the end where Hologram was able to pick up the win when he did like a helicopter, turn it into a somewhat of a blue thunder bomb, and then just like that, he picked up the win. But all of a sudden, while this was happening, while Hologram and Commander show respect to each other, Jake Roberts showed up. We don't know what's the significance, and that's when it happened. Rush, along with his brother Darlístico, along with the newest member of LFI, Beast Mortos, just made a presence. So basically, Rush is now under the tutelage of Jake Roberts. So that makes a lot more sense. I'm sure that maybe, of course, for Don Callis, he's too much to control, but not to control. But yeah, so that's what I think is happening. Now, Renee Paquette did an interview with Mark Briscoe. Now, Mark Briscoe was not being the whole hype type. He's now dead serious. Now, Jericho crossed the line. He decided to open his mouth and talk about Mark Briscoe's brother, telling him that he will never be as good as his brother. But he could have just kept his mouth shut, but he let it happen. But I'm sure Mark Briscoe is going to bring every inch of pain to Jericho. The wish he should have just kept his mouth shut about his brother. But we will see what happens. Now, many of us from a while now, we've been questioning about Daniel Garcia. Now, there were reports indicating that WWE had interest in him. We weren't sure what's going to happen. We do know that his contract was coming up, but that's when he decided to give the address the entire world that he's staying. So he wants to bring out a new version of him, a different type, where he feels that he has to do this, wear gold around his waist. So he came back, and he of course was greeted by Private Party and Shibata. Now Shibata, of course, with his usual self, told him that he will, if he wins not indirectly like saying it, but it was more like saying, if I win the TNT title, I want you to be the first guy to challenge it. So basically, he understands that because they both have respect for each other as one of the best competitors. Now, as you know, we haven't heard from Swerve since All Out after losing to Hangman. So he did indicate that he will be returning in Wrestle Dream. But however, this brought on to good news to MVP and Shelton Benjamin. Now remember, MVP was declaring that Prince Nana was an incompetent manager who, in fact, failed Swerve. He questioned him. Why didn't you go after for the AEW World Title when he lost it to Bryan Danielson? How could you allow Hangman Page burn his childhood at home? So it's more like saying all his recent failures, losing the title, losing to Hangman, and all this stuff that happened recently were all Nana's fault. So it's no secret that MVP believes that he will be a far more better manager to Swerve. Now, I'm not saying that Nana is a bad manager. I have witnessed him that he is a very caring individual. He would do anything for Swerve. But I don't blame him for the recent setbacks that, of course, Swerve went through. It wasn't his fault. But MVP sees it. So we will see what happens in WrestleDream. Now, let's see where we got. Okay. Renee Paquette did another interview with Mercedes Moné. Well, Mercedes Moné, as you know, she will be defending both the TBS and the New Japan Strong Women's title at the same time against Emi Sakura. So she knows she has respect for her, but however, she feels it's time for someone to dethrone the queen. But however, she doesn't think likely of Chris Statlander of recent motives, so we will see what happens. Now, our next match is the AEW Women's World Title in a number one contendership, a four-way. We have Willow Nightingale, Saraya, Nyla Rose, and of course Jamie Hayter. Now we do have three women who have held the AEW Women's title, except one, and that person is Willow. Of course, Jeff Jarrett, who was the commentary, did believe that Willow Nightingale most likely could be the one to win it. Now, of course, Mariah doesn't think that she has what it takes, but due to severity, certain things happen. Of course, Jamie Hayter once again being, of course, targeted by Saraya because, as you know, Saraya was not happy with her causing her problems. But all of a sudden, Penelope Ford showed up. But this does not allow for Saraya to get the one thing she wanted. Of course, Nightingale applied a pinfall on Saraya and just winning the match. But Mariah May, of course, once again decided to prove once again who she was. And then we did see, then of course that's what we're going to see what happens. Now, of course, the Learning Tree, as you know, they have been at war with the conglomerate for quite some time. And they tried to convince Rocky Romero that he doesn't suit him, that he knows that his reputation is worth, and this whole so-called friends is not healthy for him. But however, Rocky was not going to let that stand by Jericho for all the things he was saying. So, we'll see. Now, our next match, we have the Switchblade, Jay White versus Cody Shun. Of course, this match was going to end with Jay White applying the Blade Runner. It was no secret. But however, he put out a post-match promo talking about two things. One, of course, is the AEW World Title. No secret. But however, there is one person who's also in his way of that, and that is the one person who also is determined to make his way to the AEW World Title, and that is Hangman. So basically, he wants to deal with them, and he's issued a challenge against them this weekend at WrestleDream, so we will see what happens. Now, Hook, as you know, has been unhinged, pissed off knowing that someone attacked his dad. So he's demanding whoever it was just step up. And of course, Kip Sabian accidentally bumped into him, but we all know what's going on. He's running from one particular person. So he let him go. And then, of course, here comes Christian. He asks him, have you seen Kip Sabian? Looked around. He's like, nope. And of course, Christian is trying to be like all sympathetic towards him and all that. But if I was Christian, don't piss him off. I mean, don't try to act like you can be a better father than him. Because, of course, I'm sure Taz is not going to like that. So, basically, we'll see what happens. Now, of course, Mariah may continue to do an interview. But, however, she got pounced by Willow Nightingale. And, of course, she gave her thoughts and then tells her that she will be the next AEW Women's Champion. Now, our next match, we have the TBS title and the New Japan Strong Women's title, Mercedes Moné versus Emi Sakura. Man, this match was great. I mean, of course, Camilla got squashed as well by Emi Sakura, but however, Mercedes Moné continues to show who she is, and she applied the crossface, And then, of course, Chris Statlander showed up at the post-match after Mercedes retained the belt. So, of course, she is going to get her hands on Camille. Now, Private Party, as you know, has been on a roll recently, winning some matches. But, however, this interview was conducted by none other than Renee under the how do I say, person who requested it, Stokely Hathaway. So it seems that he's interested in it. But Private Party has no interest in that anyway. They feel like they need to step up. Now, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, Will Ospreay. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about what happened. Will Ospreay, as you know, was not happy with the results to Ricochet, and his match ended up in again interfered by Konosuke Takeshita. So, people are saying that Takeshita did this, of course, on his own, or that Don Callis had something to do with it. Now, Will doesn't believe that he did this on his own. He knows Don Callis too well, so he tried to confront him. And, of course, things went out of control when, of course, Will tried to attack Don, and then Fletcher tried to reason with him, and then here comes Takeshita. And then, of course, Ricochet showed up. But, of course, Fletcher right now is currently conflicted. So, we'll see what happens. Now, Top Flight, as you know, recently they've been dealing with setbacks. However, this is where things have gone interesting. As you know, Top Flight, they could have won the three-way number one contendership for the AEW World Tag Team titles. But the real blame goes to one person, and that is Action Andretti. Layla even made that perfectly clear. And of course, that's true. If he didn't got in the way, they would have won the match. But of course, Action thinks that they don't get it. But of course, Dante sees, that they can't. That someone needs to talk to him, or something has to be done. So, I know Darius is being put in a rock and a hard place, because remember, when Dante was out for for a long time because of the injury, he teamed up with Action, so something has to be done. We'll see what happens thereon. Now, Jack Perry, as you know, had some things to say. He wants to see the Shibata that people know about. The Shibata that was violent, the person that people talked about on social media and seen his matches. So we will see what happens. Now, our next match, which is our main event, we have Wheeler Yuta and Bryan Danielson taking on Pac and Claudio. Of course, this match was going to be a little personal in some ways possible. Now, of course, many would think that, okay, Pac and Claudio would pick up the win, because we didn't notice that John and Marina were intending to try to drive the focus of Bryan Danielson out of the way. But however, it did not stop Bryan Danielson whatsoever. He put Pac in a label lock, forcing him to tap out. But however, all hell broke loose in the post-match. Bryan Danielson was fighting against Jon Moxley, while Wheeler Yuta was being punished by Claudio, Pac, and Marina. But we'll see what happens this coming weekend at Wrestle Dream. So we'll get to that when the day comes. So until then, we are done with our review. So let's move on with news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events from the promotions. This time we don't have much with GCW, but we do have two big events coming for this month with West Coast Pro. Now, as you know, they will have their upcoming event on the 11th of October, The Thing That Should Not Be. 3 matches have been announced. 2 of them are title matches. The first one is the women's title. Takumi Iroha will defend the belt against Zara Sakir. So basically, I'm looking forward to that. And of course, the West Coast Pro Championship will be defended. Kevin Blackfoot defends the belt against Jake Something. And then, of course, we have Jaya Jewel versus Alec Price. And of course, on the 25th for the Casino Lucha, 3 matches have been announced. Jasmine Allure take on Chica Tormenta. Los Parks versus Los Suavecitos. To be honest with you, I want to see the Parks beat them. And of course, we have Beast Mortos. He teams up with Los Vipers to take on Ray Horace, Jack Cartwheel, and Laredo Kid. Now, GCW does have updated that there's going to be a match on night 1 of Fight Club on the 13th of October. Richard Holiday versus Mr. Danger. So that's going to be an interesting match. House of Glory, The Salvation on the 18th of October. 6-man tag match. We have CBK versus Main Event and Joey Silver. RevPro as announced for the Global War UK taking place on the 19th of October. LIJ members Titan and Hiromu Takahashi team up to take on JJ Gale and United Empire's Callum Newman. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. Now, of course, more names have been announced for the upcoming event later on this month for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, the Forge in Excellence 2-day show on the 19th and 20th of October. Here are the names they announced. We have Raj Singh, Taylor Rising, Kushida, Rocky Romero, Kevin Knight, Ura Torres, Harley Cameron. And a match have been announced for that particular one as well. Dupenda Gurjar versus QT Marshall. Yoshi Promotion Marvelous has announced for their upcoming event on the 27th of October. Sari will be in action to take on the trainee named Naho Tanaka. This will be a big test for her, so can't wait to see it. Thailand Promotion Setup has announced for another interesting match on the November 8th event, Year-End Climax, where 2 titles will be defended at the same time. It's more like winner takes all. The Setup Openweight Championship and the Singapore Southeast Asian Championship. We have Jonathan Jones defends it against Andrew Tang. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's pretty much everything from the upcoming events. We do have 3 developments. Many of you may know this. I talked about Tatum Paxley being on her honeymoon with her now husband Javier Bernal in Costa Rica. Well, it seems that she left early to go make a surprise visit at Raw, so you might have saw that. So it's interesting to hear. Adam Copeland revealed in Fightful Select that Tony Khan sent Starlink devices to Asheville, North Carolina to assist on the Hurricane Inland relief effort. So basically, that's good. If you guys know what Starlink is, it's a one of those, you can use the internet wherever you're at if you're off grid. I've seen it already personally with a guy on YouTube named Travis, but his channel is called The Fine Print. He actually uses that because he plays video games on his van. So basically, he lives the van life. So I know what he's talking about. Interesting information has come around. As you all know, I talked about the recent Mighty Gold event on the last episode. There's a new wrestler that made an appearance named Hummingbird, a masked wrestler. Now, this is a very interesting thing that has been brought upon. This is a new type of wrestler that, since Starlight Kid has made an appearance, it's interesting now because, as you know, Starlight Kid is the only masked wrestler in Stardom. And now it seems that, for whatever reason, we are having this brand new wrestler in a mask making its presence known. So we'll see how that goes. Looking forward to see what Hummingbird will do. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I think that's pretty much it for everything. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, normally on a Wednesday we have AEW. Well, I don't know what to do, but I do know I missed out on there's 2 Elite shows I haven't seen yet. I'll probably do that as a priority. We'll see how things will progress. Haven't decided yet where we're going to go from there. But I'm also currently going to start editing on the recent DWZ at the wrestling event for all of you. So we'll see how that rolls up. So for now, we'll just leave it as that and move forward. So I think that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys on the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.